some breaking news. Otherwise, I wouldn't cut you off so abruptly. Carlos Warner, thanks for joining us. Let's get now to Boston. Apparently, there's been an explosion at the Boston Marathon. I am told one of our producers, Matt Frucci, is there on the ground talking to us by phone. What can you tell us, Matt?
And for those just joining us, Brian Williams here in New York, but all eyes are on the situation in Boston. This was the live television picture showing what we now know to be the first of two explosions. In the center of your screen, you see a runner go down after getting hit by a piece of shrapnel. You see the smoke plume rise no less than 50 yards from the finish line, and then a
April 15th, 2013 marked the 117th running of the Boston Marathon, the world's oldest annual marathon. The event is held on Patriots' Day, which commemorates the 1775 battles of Lexington and Concord that kicked off the American Revolutionary War. Patriots' Day, celebrated on the third Monday in April, is a legal holiday in Massachusetts. The 2013 marathon began in the town of Hopkinton, west of Boston, with some 23,000 participants. The elite women runners started at 9:32 a.m., while the top male runners and a first wave of thousands of other runners followed at 10 a.m. Additional waves of runners took off at 10:20 a.m. and 10:40 a.m. Rita Jeptu of Kenya was the first female across the finish line, completing the 26.2-mile course, which traveled through 8 Bay State towns and cities in 2 hours, 26 minutes and 25 seconds. Lalisa Desisa of Ethiopia, the men's winner, finished with a time of 2 hours, 10 minutes and 22 seconds. At approximately 2:49 that afternoon, with more than 5,600 runners still in the race, 2 pressure cooker bombs packed with shrapnel and other materials and hidden in backpacks that were placed on the ground amidst crowds of marathon watchers exploded within seconds of each other near the finish line along Boylston Street. The blasts instantly turned the sun-filled afternoon into a gruesome scene of destruction and chaos. 3 spectators died, a 23-year-old lady, a 29-year-old lady, and an 8-year-old boy, while more than 260 other people were wounded. 16 people lost legs. The youngest amputee was a 7-year-old girl. An investigation involving more than 1,000 federal, state, and local law enforcement personnel was quickly launched. A breakthrough in the case came less than 2 days later, when FBI analysts who had poured through thousands of videos and photographs taken from security cameras in the area where the attack occurred pinpointed 2 male suspects. The FBI released surveillance camera images of the men, whose identities were then unknown, on the evening of April the 18th. That night at around 10:30, Sean Collier, a 27-year-old police officer at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, was shot dead in his patrol car on the school's Cambridge campus. Authorities later would link the murder to the Sarnier brothers, who allegedly attempted to steal the officer's service weapon. Soon after Collier was killed, Tamerlan Tsarnaev allegedly carjacked Mercedes SUV at gunpoint, taking the driver hostage and telling him that he was one of the Boston Marathon bombers. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev followed behind in a Honda Civic before joining his older brother and the hostage in the SUV. The brothers then drove around the Boston area with their hostage, forcing him to withdraw money from an ATM and discussing driving to New York City. When they stopped at a Cambridge gas station, the hostage escaped and called the police, informing them the SUV could be tracked by his cell phone, which was still in the vehicle. Shortly after midnight, police in the Boston suburb of Watertown spotted the suspects in the stolen SUV and Honda Civic and tried to apprehend them. A gun battle broke out on a Watertown street, with the Tsarnaevs exchanging fire with the police and hurling explosive devices at them. One officer was seriously injured by gunshots but survived. After Tamerlan Tsarnaev was tackled by the police, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev drove the stolen SUV straight at them, running over his own brother before speeding away. He abandoned the SUV nearby, then fled on foot. A gravely wounded Tamerlan Tsarnaev, whose body was riddled with bullets, was taken to a hospital where doctors were unable to resuscitate him. That day, April the 19th, the Boston area was put on lockdown with schools closed, public transportation service suspended and people advised to stay inside their homes as police conducted door-to-door searches in Watertown and military-style vehicles patrolled the streets. That evening, after law enforcement called off their search of the area, a Watertown man went out to his backyard to check on his dry-docked boat. When he looked inside the covered, 24-foot vessel, he was startled to see blood and a person, later identified as Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, hiding there. The Watertown man immediately called 911. Police arrived and surrounded the boat, and the alleged terrorist, who was wounded from the earlier gun battle, was taken into custody. Before his capture, Tsarnaev reportedly scrawled a note inside the boat indicating the Boston bombings were committed in retaliation for US wars in Muslim countries. At the time of the bombings, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev was a sophomore at the University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth, and Tamerlan Tsarnaev, a former amateur boxer, was married and had a young child. The brothers were Muslims, born in the former Soviet Republic of Kyrgyzstan in 1986 and 1993. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev arrived in the United States with his parents in 2002, and the family soon applied for political asylum and settled in Cambridge. Tamerlan and his two sisters followed the family to America in 2003. The siblings' father, an ethnic Chechen who grew up in Kyrgyzstan, found work as a car mechanic, while their mom, an ethnic Avar from Dagestan, worked as a facialist. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, described by classmates as a popular student, became a naturalized US citizen on September the 11th of 2012. His older brother, a community college dropout who was frequently unemployed, had a green card but was not an American citizen. Investigators have suggested the Tsarnaevs were motivated by extremist Islamic beliefs but planned and carried out the bombings on their own and were not connected to any terrorist groups. The brothers allegedly used the internet to learn how to build explosives. In July of 2013, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev pleaded not guilty to the 30 federal charges against him, including the use of a weapon of mass destruction resulting in death. In October of 2013, court documents filed by federal prosecutors linked Tamerlan Tsarnaev to a triple homicide in Waltham, Massachusetts in September of 2011. However, to date, the case remains unsolved. On January the 30th of 2014, the United States Attorney General announced that the federal government would seek the death penalty against Tsarnaev. On April the 8th of 2015, Tsarnaev was found guilty on all 30 counts of the indictment. The charges included the usage of a weapon of mass destruction resulting in death, in addition to aiding and abetting. This resulted in Tsarnaev to be eligible for the death penalty, and he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. He is currently being held in a federal prison while awaiting his appeal.